Hi, it's Volle, and I want to talk about how do we change our pattern that we've been running. Because all of us are running a pattern. We have a pattern of, uncreative pattern, and we're running a pattern and it leads us to be uncreative. We're running a pattern and it leads us to be overweight or unhappy or anything. And it all just comes down to what pattern we're running. I think a lot of times we think it's just, well, I am who I am, and no, it's just a pattern. It's just neurons in your brain that are firing. Um, the principle of the brain is that neurons that fire together wire together. So think about any time you were ever learning any type of pattern. When you were a kid, you had to learn how to write your ABCs. That's just a pattern of constellations. At one point, you were at the point where you had to, in order to write an A, you had to fire neurons that said, I'm gonna draw this, and that's a set of neurons firing in your head. And then you said, I'm gonna draw this, and that's another set of neurons. So your brain's done two things now, and then you had to make the crossbar right here, and then that was a third set. So you had to fire three different sets of neurons in order to create the letter A. And eventually your brain's so used to this pattern, it goes, okay, every time I'm writing and I think of the letter A, I fire, fire, fire. So I don't actually have to do all three of those things. Eventually your brain goes, when I get here, fire this automatically, and then fire this automatically. So now you're thinking A, and you just do that real quick instead of okay, okay, okay. Um, so that's how your brain naturally works. It chunks everything down so that you can now think of more things. Now you can just write a word that has the letter A in it. You don't actually have to think about, okay, well, that one has an A in it now. So that's how your brain is just naturally works. That's why everything in your life is going to be a pattern because your brain, every time those neurons fire together, they wire together. That's how it works. So what I want to talk about is it's called the Tetris Effect, and this is a really cool principle. And what the Tetris Effect is, what they studied is they went to Harvard Medical School and they paid 27 students to play Tetris for 3 hour or for 3 days, multiple hours every day, and they're just kids playing Tetris, playing Tetris, playing Tetris. So they're running this one single pattern that says see this, drop, see, okay, flip, block, flip, and they just keep running this pattern thousands and thousands and thousands of times every single day, thousands of times, same pattern, same pattern. And after only 3 days, so we're only talking about 3 short days here, after only 3 days, these people could not get the pattern out of their heads. The pattern was stuck there for a while. Um, so what happened was people started reporting that they were dreaming of blocks falling from the sky, and even in their waking hours, they kept seeing like, okay, that car kind of looks like a block here, and that would fit over here, and that building, if I flipped the building on its side, it would fit perfectly into. And they kept running the same Tetris pattern, even though that pattern had nothing to do with their actual reality. And then they did a follow-up study to it, and the follow-up study found that the people that were addicted to Tetris, and I didn't know that there were people addicted to Tetris, but apparently there's such a thing. The people that are addicted to Tetris, their brains wired completely differently in a way that allowed them to understand, Tetris better, but understand the world, via Tetris as well. So the neurons that were firing together found other places where they could fire together as well. So they basically, you're projecting that pattern into reality. And that is just an amazing metaphor for life right there, because we're all stuck in some kind of pattern where we see something negative and we just project it straight into what is actually reality. So think about people just playing a simple Tetris game for 3 days, all of a sudden projected that into their reality. All of a sudden they had a different, rose colored glasses, they had Tetris colored glasses. So what happens though is your brain has a limited amount of capacity that it can input at any time that it can be consciously aware of. So because your brain is looking at it through a different perspective now, through a different pattern, it has to drop the old pattern. Your brain cannot think of two different things at the same time. It does not work like that. Your conscious brain, at least, doesn't work like that. So there's a really cool experiment, psychological experiment. Just go to YouTube, type in change blindness, and then basketball. Change blindness basketball, and watch it really quick and come back. So spoiler alert. If you watch it then a lot of people watching it for the first time. I'm not sure the exact statistic, but there's 5 people playing basketball, and there's 2 groups. There's white and black, and they're just passing, 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 and ask you how many times does the basketball get passed at any given, or how long for the video does it take? I don't know how many passes are there, and you're just concentrating, pass, 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 and you keep going and going, and then eventually you're like, okay, 38 or however the number is, and then it goes, oh, okay, cool, you got the right answer. Did you see the gorilla? And then people are like, what are you talking about? What gorilla? What? And you're like, I was counting passes. And then you go back and you look at it, and there's plain as day, there's a gorilla that just walks on screen, does a little dance for a while, and then just leaves. But your brain edits that out because it becomes so focused on what it's become, what it thinks is relevant at the time. It has to drop information in order to input what it feels is necessary. So, your brain. First off, your brain is going to have to preserve its identity. Whenever you're trying to create something new, just think about how used to writing an A your brain is. Your brain just fires it automatically, and eventually we think that an A we just think about this. We don't actually think that wait I could have just if you're so used to that pattern, you could just do this, or you could do over here. You could break that pattern easily, but you don't think about it because your brain is wired that way. It's so easy for your brain to do it. So when you start doing something that's very difficult for your brain to do, i.e., change your identity, then your brain's going to fight you for a little while. But think about Tetris. The first time you played Tetris, that game was frustrating. The pieces never flipped like you thought they were, or they were in a different lane that you swore to God you were in the right lane. So just think about that whenever you're looking at the patterns in your own life. So that's a little bit about how to change your patterns. I hope you're able to apply, the Tetris effect to, becoming more creative, to looking for creative components in your everyday life. That's absolutely valuable, especially if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur. Then you want problems to solve, so you want your focus to be on, oh, I saw a problem, awesome. Now let's jump into creative mode and go at it. Whereas if you're just passively going through life, your brain just edits that information out. It just sees it as a problem and keeps going. So my name's Drew Volle. You can find me on drewvolle.com. Thank you.